Hello guys, welcome to the 23rd lecture. In this lecture I will continue to place elements on enclosure door. So this lecture, let's get started. Now I have to place other elements on this enclosure door. That elements I have also imported in a last lesson, and I will click on 7 in layout basic space navigator, and then I have to erase this handle, and I will mark this element and I will copy this element. I will click on panel layout in layout space navigator, and then I have to rotate this part, and I will copy this copy part on background beside enclosure, and then I have to group this single elements. I will mark this element and I will click on edit tab and then graphic and then unite, and I will left click mouse on this element, and now we can see that our components is grouped. Now I have to define placement area. I will rotate these parts, and then I will click on icon that represent placement area, and then I will click on this position, and then I have to define new handle. I will click on icon that represent new handle, and then I will click on this position, and then I have to move this element to his location on enclosure door. I will rotate these elements, and then I will right click on mouse, and then I will move this element in handle, and I will click on this position beside. I will click that I will place this element on mounting grid, and our push button is placed on his element. I will rotate these parts, and we can see that this push button is placed on his position correctly. Now I have to place the third push button on his location on enclosure door. I will click on 5 in layout space basic navigator, and then I will erase this handle, and I will mark this element and I will copy them. I will click panel layout 3D and I will rotate them on his position. I will paste this element beside this enclosure, and I will click OK button. Now I have to place this element on his location on enclosure door. I will rotate elements, and then I have to define placement area. Firstly, I have to group these parts. I will mark this part, and then I will click on edit tab and then graphic and then unite, and I will click to part, and then this part is grouped. Now I have to define placement area. I will click on this icon that represents placement area, and then I will click on this position. Now I have to define handle. I will click on icon that represents new handle, and then I will click on this position, and then I will move this element to his location. I will right click on the mouse and then move. I will move them in point of his new handle, and then I will place this element on his location on enclosure door, and I will click OK button. Now we can see our elements on enclosure door. I will move my element again. I will click to move, and then I will place to his original location, and then I have to click to mounting grid, and then we can see our complete enclosure in 3D space. Now I can deactivate this grid. I will click View tab, and then mounting aids I will deactivate, and then we can see our complete enclosure in 3D space. This lesson is successfully completed.